This 1957 Gibson J-50 was smashed and trashed, and my friend Charles found it in a dumpster in Halifax. After taking a scant few pictures and some selfies, assuming I would make this into a YouTube video in the future, I set about immediately starting the repairs. The glue is really dry and brittle, so I didn't need to heat it up in most of the cases. It just cracked apart. This is my favorite knife. I have no idea what its original purpose was. If you know, please let me know. I'd like to find it back up. I suppose other carbon steel blades could be carved into a similar shape. It's not super sharp, but there is an edge on it. The glue on the neck block is a little too strong. It needs some heat. I'm using a lamp. You got to be careful with these because they will blister the finish. I should have masked the heel of the neck, but sometimes these dumpster guitars, they don't mind a little bit of a, a blister here and there. How are you doing? We're watching a lot of one task, almost 30 seconds. Can your mind handle it, or do you have the malaise of modernity, aka ADHD? I don't keep this blade too sharp because there are instances where it just goes flying, and boy oh boy, could your hand be in the way. Speaking of ADHD though, that's the beauty of repairing guitars, is often there's 100 things you have to do. So you can just jump around doing a little bit of this guy, a little bit of that guy, a little smidge of this, and when it becomes tiresome, you can stop doing it for a while and move on to something else. So you don't do a sloppy job in frustration. The tail block cracked, very common. Gonna open it up with the tail pin and squeeze some glue in there.
Tales of daring, do bad, and good tail pin. Woo!
Wiggle like a worm. Also massage it like a worm. Squeeze like a worm. And then clamp it. As in Ned clamp it. Here's an easy hairline crack to fix. A little squirt of this. Hear the tone, glue. A little smush in there. A little more smush in there. Did you know the difference between a J-45 and a J-50 is that the J-45 has the sunburst finish and the J-50 is blonde? I found that out when I mislabeled this as a J-45. Nice, light, skinny, short bracing. This area needs a little reinforcement on the inside if you ask me. We're not doing a guard on this guitar. Charles said he doesn't care about aesthetics, so no guard it is. This all seems fairly self-explanatory. You can see I did some other cleats there on the other cracks. Now back over to the lining removal. It's not called kerfing, people. When you cut the slots in it, it becomes kerfed. It's a kerfed lining.
This fact brought to you by pedantry. Pedantry. If you know, you know.
I am going to keep as much of the original lining as possible, and then I will accurately reproduce certain segments and fill them in. These little paper clips, what are these called? If paper clips are paper clips, what are these paper clips? Anyway, they work well for slanted bindings. Gotta clear out the slots for the braces.
Devil plan.
We're gonna make all new braces and an all new back, as though that weren't self-evident from the complete lack of back and back braces that were present when we received it. Here's some mahogany. It's very old. It's nice. It's light and stiff.
That's what she said.
I just need to joint the two inner edges so that they will line up with no gap so I can glue them. An electrical jointer is just a rough approximation of a flat edge. Then you can move on to a hand plane, or just to some sandpaper attached to a flat surface that you control at a 90-degree angle. Here's one of those non-paperclip paperclips again. Nice. Ready for thicknessing. Oh, I guess I'm gonna rough cut it out first. I was told this is Honduran mahogany. It came to me from a friend and mentor. He had it for many decades, so it has probably been harvested for at least 40 years at this point. I'm happy to give it to a worthy project like a vintage J-50. Okay, now we can thickness it, or thinness it. Okay, that's pretty good. That's an amount of grams. This is how different it looks from the original color that's aged. Again, we're not doing a lot of aesthetics on this. I'm going to put a base coat of shellac onto it and then spray it with some lacquer, and that's it. Measuring out the dimensions for the kerfed linings.
Pedantry.
Just a few places to replace. I'm starting out with a piece of mahogany and just eyeballing the kerfing. It's not perfect, but damn, who's gonna look? We found the angle, we transposed the angle to the saw, and you know, then we cut the wood off. There you go. I did a marker test and will color these in to match the aged look of the older mahogany. And here I rough cut out some driftwood red cedar that I found on the beach here for the braces. Not shown, but I also radiused the back sides of the braces, and then I put double-sided tape on them, and wouldn't you know it, I forgot to peel off the backs of the tape. So I tried again, and did I do it? Did I do it? Did I do it? I did it! So I taped around them so I could apply the hot hide glue. I warmed everything up while the glue heated up. Ooh yes, here we are around 140 degrees. Looking pretty nice, a little thin. We're just gonna go one at a time. my buddy Andrew in Colorado sent me the exact specs for the braces on this particular Gibson. Very helpful, and I followed it to a T. Okay, now it kind of keys in and it's ready to be glued on. I did some color tests and then I talked to Charles and he said, I don't care. And I was like, great, because we both wanted to get the guitar playing well, but we're not really concerned with its collectability. I added a flame maple seam cleat, I guess you would call it. Center seam. So now I'm just going to set up all of the spool clamps I need at the right height. Obviously the guitar gets narrower as you approach the neck and wider as you approach the tail pin, and the glue dries very, very quickly. So obviously we want to have this all ready and dry ran. Anyway, we have the clamps ready, and look at this. Here it is glued, because I don't videotape hot hide gluing. It's too stressful. But here's the aftermath. Sounds good, looks good. I'm really happy with my work on this. Look at those nicely tucked braces. Beautiful. You could see I put a cleat on the tail block in the end.
Tail block, ooh.
And as soon as I started routing, I chipped off this edge, but I glued it back on, and once it's sanded, you will never notice it. I always put a piece of tape on the surface that the bearing's going to ride on, because the bearings invariably leave a mark, or at least the washers that the bearings are also next to can scar the wood, and then you have to deal with that. So better to line it with tape. This is just a base coat of shellac. Popping the grain. Looking pretty. I used a binding bit, or a shallow rabbit bit, to cut the channels for the binding. I had to fill in one gap there, and then I glued on this very white plastic binding. It stands out like a sore thumb, to be honest. Ooh, but that mahogany looks so good. Yeah, I like this a lot.
I like it a lot.
So I did start applying some various formulas to the binding, and I talked to Charles about how it was coming along fairly slowly. And he said, sod it, because he's from the East Coast and they love sod there. And so I sodded it. And we just went with what we went with. These are the only after pictures I took. I forgot to take any video. I left the original tuners on there. So this J-50 is going to, like I said, my friend Charles Austin in Halifax. He has been in the music biz. He's been on the scene, that's the word, the music scene in Halifax for decades now. If you are familiar with the band The Super Friends, he was in that. And he's been in a lot of different projects. Psychic Fair comes to mind, The Lodge, and a couple of contemporary projects he has going. One is called Lac Secret, which I think he's going to plug himself in his video he sent me. And he's also in a band with my friend Jess called Surprise Pink. Anyway, Charles is also an audio engineer, and he's recorded a ton of bands in Halifax, usually at rates far lower than he should. He's basically the patron saint of music recording in Halifax. His current studio is called Ocean Floor. My Old Band's album was recorded in his previous studio called the Echo Chamber. Yada yada yada. I'm glad to fix this guitar for him. He's very deserving of this gift from the dumpster. Without further ado, I will just play for you the video he sent me, because I didn't take footage of the guitar after I finished it. So here that is.
Hey Levon, here's the guitar in my living room. There's my dog Robbie. Just kind of wanted to be in the video. So as you can see, it's all been refretted. Plays really good. This is pretty much how the front looked when I found it in the garbage. And here's the new back that you put on. And it really matches the original color. Hopefully you can see that in the video. And just beautiful job. Here's the neck here. You can see somebody really liked playing in certain positions. I put some new tuning pegs on too. And yeah, I'm really lucky to have this thing. I would say I'm not worthy, but I found it, so I think that means that otherwise it just would have gotten crushed or something. So there you have it, the 1957 J-45. There's a little clip of me playing it on. Oh, let's see. You want to hear it? It's my record with my buddy Andrew. Lac Secret.
Lac Secret.
It's on Bandcamp. It's just pump organ, and there's a bunch of acoustic guitar on that, if you're so inclined. Anyway, have a good one. Bye.
All the cool kids, L and S.
100% cool kids are Ellen and Essen.
Every time you don't L or S, I'm gonna cut the face off of you.
You understand me?